All right, so now hopefully you can see a black screen with some text that says how to automate repetitive tasks and free up over 5 hours a week without having any tech skills. So if you're all able to see the title slide, which it looks like in the chat everybody is, or at least most of you, that's super, super great. So we're going to get started now. And we're 4 minutes in, and anyone who listens to the productivity show, and actually I would love to know, just to check in, how many of you actually listen to the podcast? Tan and I do a podcast called The Productivity Show, which comes out every Monday. A new episode dropped today. And what we always like to, so if you listen to The Productivity Show, I'd love to hear in the chat and let us know, just so we know if we have some listeners. And if you do, one thing you'll probably know is at the start of every podcast episode, Tan and I like to share, or Marmel, I should include her. Marmel is a AET member. She is on the podcast too, likes to share our top 3 resources. So we want to do the same thing here on our presentation. So if for whatever reason you get connection issues, you have something you can take and start using right away. So our top 3 resources are all automation themed. So number 1 is a Windows productivity app called File Juggler. And File Juggler we're actually going to be talking about later in this presentation, spoiler alert. It's a Windows app that allows you to automatically name and move files amongst many other things on your Windows computer. And because we try to be as cross-platform as possible on Windows and the Mac, of course I have to share the Mac version as well. And so Hazel is a very similar app. And again, we are going to be referencing that in the presentation today. And Hazel is a Mac app that does the same thing. You can create rules that watch as a folder, and then you can rename, move files, take all sorts of different actions, really easy to use. And we're going to be talking about that today. And our third is we wanted to share a keyboard shortcut. Great to see that Thomas is a proud Hazel owner. It's a great app. So for our third resource, we wanted to share a keyboard shortcut, and it is by far the most popular keyboard shortcut that we've ever shared. Every time we share it, people just thank us profusely. I think Tan might have blown his mind when I shared it with him. And it is Shift-Command-T on the Mac or Shift-Control-T on Windows. They both do the same thing. And what that does is when you're in a browser, it will, you know how sometimes you close a tab and then right after you close it, you think, oh man, I actually needed that, or you accidentally close it. Well, Shift-Command-T or Shift-Control-T will reopen the last closed browser tab. And I use this all the time. I even used it today. So once you get used to using that, you will definitely thank us because it is a super, super useful app. So we're going to talk about automation today, and this is something we're really passionate that everybody can do. And what we've done is we've had a number of members of the Asian efficiency community share with us different automations that they've set up and how it's helped them. And we really, really believe that automation can help you as well. So here's an example. Similar to what we're going to be learning today. Here's Joe, who says he made a few changes and he can save an hour a week at least. And Cindy did something similar. She set up some automations and she says it'll save her about 10 to 20 minutes a day. And as she correctly says, 10 minutes doesn't sound like a huge amount, but when you do that over every day, 6 days a week, that's 52 hours in a year that she saves just from that one automation. And Matt, the same thing. He set up an automation. It's going to save him at least 2 hours a week. And he's really able to stay more organized with his client files. And he's able to take action on the documents that he works with. So I'm super, super excited, if you can't already tell, to be covering with automation. It's my very favorite topic. And I was so excited when Tan and I decided that this is something we really wanted to share with the AE audience. And so I just want to run through what our goals are for today, what today's agenda is, and what we're looking for. And really, yes, we are going to be sharing some great automation tips, giving you some tools and some resources and some exercises. But really, what we're really wanting to do is to give you confidence. Sometimes we think that this stuff could be difficult or maybe not for us, or we're not able to do it. And we want you to know that you are able to do it. And we want to give you clarity. We want you to know exactly what you need to do and exactly what steps to take in order to save time with automation. And because of that, we want to help you unlock your true potential. There's a reason we do this stuff, and we're going to be talking about that in a bit. But we don't just implement this stuff just for the sake of implementing it. We want to really free up more time for you so that you're able to do the things that are really, really important to you and to make you superhuman productive, uber productive. So hopefully that sounds good to you. Hopefully this is what you're wanting to achieve from this as well. And in return for that, what we want from you, though, it's an exchange. We have to ask you for something as well. And what we want from you really at the end of the day is implementation. We want to know that all these automation tips that we're going to do, these time-saving tips, that you're actually going to put them into action. It's one thing to be on a presentation, have a good time with Tan and I, but we want to make sure that you're actually putting this stuff into action. We want to help you do that. So I'd like to pause for a moment and get a little bit of a check-in with you to see, is this something that you are willing to try and willing to implement? Because we want to work with action takers. We want to know that you're going to actually take action on implementing some of these really easy automation tips that we're going to be covering today. So if you're willing to implement along with us, please share it in the chat and let us know so that we know we're in the right place, essentially. And I can see a bunch of, oh yes, definitely. Agatha says she has no choice and she needs to. I totally understand, and I've totally been there. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through what we feel is the biggest time freedom opportunity and the biggest thing you can do in order to free up time in your day. We're also going to not just talk about automation, but we're going to show you some examples of automation that you can do as well. And we know it's difficult to see this stuff, but a lot of times we're not really sure where to start. So we're going to talk about the 4 steps to start with automation, and then we're going to do wrap up and Q&As. We want to make sure we get your automation question answered. So if you're ready to go, I definitely am. And Angela says she's really keen and excited to share the people to work with. That's a big thing. That's the great thing about these tips. You can actually share them as well. So a little bit about myself, for those who don't know me. So my name is Brooks Duncan, and I've worked in all sorts of different industries. I've actually worked in family businesses. My parents have always owned different very small businesses, so I always was in that environment. I've worked in small startups from 3 people to 80, 90 people startups. And I've worked in large corporations from 55,000, 35,000. I even did a short stint in government as well. So I've kind of done it all. I've also helped thousands and thousands of people online with their productivity over the years, helping people with productivity tips, automation tips, sharing automation, sharing different things. And I'm also a conference speaker. I've spoken at a number of different conferences, a number of different events. And I'm also, as we talked about, a podcaster. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Productivity Show, which a lot of you listen to, which is super, super great. But the most important thing to me anyway, is I am super, super passionate about making automation and productivity easy and even fun. I really, really believe that anybody can do this stuff. Anybody can implement automation and save time. And I know if you're listening to this, you can as well. And so hopefully by the end of this, you'll have some great ideas of how to do that. The only thing is, while I am super passionate about automation, it's not something that I just all of a sudden knew how to do. I grew up in small logging towns here in British Columbia, which is the province I live in Canada. And at the end of 1999, I moved to Vancouver, and I moved here for school. And then I ended up at a job in what to me was a big city. My wife, she lived for Hong Kong in many years. So for her, this is a pretty small city. But for me, Vancouver is a pretty big city. And I got a job at a financial software startup, which I mentioned earlier. And I started at the bottom. Sort of like Drake, I started at the bottom, and I did very entry level, very time consuming, but very entry level stuff. But over time, I worked my way up and up. I was called a business analyst, which was basically frontline software support. And I worked my way up by, of course, working hard. I would come in early. I would eat lunch at my desk, all these things that I thought you were supposed to do. And it did help me, honestly. Fairly quickly, I rose to a senior business analyst, and then a manager of my department, and then a director. And this was my team there. It is Brooks Duncan Day. I tended to always wear plaid shirts and khakis, and I was obsessed with the iPod at the time. So they all spray painted their hair blonde and dressed like me for Brooks Duncan Day. And so it was a great team. But the thing is, once I got to kind of like that manager level, that director level, all these things that I thought were helping me were no longer helping me, or at least were no longer enough. Things started to slow down. I worked harder and harder, but things were just slipping through the cracks as me having some serious discussion with one of my team members. And what ended up happening was the bottleneck was me. If I didn't have an answer to something, things would just grind for a halt for me to find it. And what would happen is my team and I would have to look through all this information in order to find answers for our customer or find answers for my team. And so I started thinking to myself, how could I be more productive, and how could I help the team and help our customers be more productive? And how could I save time to free up time in order to be able to do this stuff? And this was compounded even more because I had just had my first son, and we had just purchased our first house. I don't know why I look more tired than my wife here, since she's the one who gave birth. But anyway, so I had this new family. I've got my employees, I've got our customers, and things were just getting busier all the time. And I mentioned I was working for a startup about 85 people. But what ended up happening is things just got crazier and crazier because our 85-person company was bought out by a 35,000 person international corporation, which was then merged into a 55,000 corporation, all in the span of just a few years. So before, when I needed information or when people needed information from me, we could just walk across the office and talk to each other. But all of a sudden, I'm getting requests from Boston, from London, from New York, from Bangalore, like all over the world, all sorts of different information as my role grew. And everything I needed to deal with was exploding. And so I dealt with this the way that probably most people deal with this, which is I started bringing more and more work home. So as a parent, you want to be fully present, and you can see that I wasn't doing a great job at that. This is a picture from back in those days. And really, I wanted to be more present with my son, but I also had these work responsibilities. So I started thinking to myself, what do I need to do to fix this? And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit because this is really, really important. I started thinking to myself, what are the sorts of things that I need to do, and how could I improve that? And this is a really important mindset to get into, is when you're looking at automation, what you want to do is you want to be thinking to yourself, what is it that I do, and what are some solutions to that problem? So for me, I needed to find information. I needed to retrieve all this paper information. I had all these policies to look up, all these customer information to dig up. And so I had all this information I needed to wade through. And I thought to myself, what if we made it so that everything from the training that we have to internal training to SOPs, which we didn't call at the time, to everything, documents, what if we made it digital and made it so that we could access everything from our computer? And so we didn't have to go digging through this stuff. Everything would just be at our fingertips, which sounds pretty common now, but at the time it was very, very uncommon, let's just say. It wasn't a lot of people doing that at the time. And so I realized, as I started looking into this stuff, I realized that there's a lot of tools out there that can automate the manual tasks that I was doing, that could take a lot of the heavy lifting out of work doing stuff on my computer. So I realized that I understood that the computer could save me time. There were things that I could do on the computer that would save time with the things that I'm working on. But the problem is that this stuff was just not obvious for how to set up. As I was looking through this stuff, as I was implementing these solutions, a lot of them are way more complicated than they look when you go to set them up. And this was especially true back then. I'm a pretty technical person, but even for me, I had to do a lot of messing around to get them to do what I wanted. The instructions weren't super, super clear. They weren't made for non-programmers. I had to do all this stuff to try to figure this information out. And maybe a lot of you think of that with automation as well. Think of it that trying to wade through all this stuff is just not what you feel like doing with your time. You have your work that you want to do. You have your tasks that you want to accomplish. You don't necessarily want to be digging through all these manuals to figure out how to set up different automation tools. You just want to get your work done. Well, I kind of fought that battle at the time. And what ended up happening is I did set up these automated systems after a bunch of trial and error, after a bunch of different going down all these different paths that didn't really work out. But eventually I got to the place where I was able to access all this information and save a ton of time. And I was able to be more helpful and more responsive to my team. And I ended up doing a lot of traveling, a lot of speaking. And what I found I ended up doing is I would be presenting these automation tips. Like we were saying in the chat earlier, I ended up presenting these automation tips to my coworkers and to our client conferences. And I realized that I loved helping people with technology. And that all ended up in a career shift where I started helping people be more productive with technology, with automation, and with all these different things. And that's kind of how I ended up here. And this is an example of me doing some public speaking. And I ended up creating these automation workshops and automation tools and automation boot camps. This is Tan and I traveled to the Philippines to work with some members of the AE team. So if you've worked with the AE team before, from left to right, this is Sherby, Marie, Marmel, and Mary. And what we did is we put together a little automation training, and we all got together and implemented these automation tools. And we realized that we use this stuff internally. This stuff makes us way more productive internally. Maybe what we can do is we can start sharing these automation tips with others as well. And the funny thing about that is the four of these members of the AE team are not technical at all. They have customer service skills, they have project management skills, but none of them are programmers, none of them are super technical, but they were able to pick up this stuff. They were able to automate their workflows and save time. So that's when we knew that anybody would be able to do this stuff. So I want to get going, and I want to start sharing with you ways that you can use automation to save time, because we really, really believe that automation is the fastest and most underutilized way to save hours a week. It's not about time management. Time management, of course, is important, but it's about freeing yourself from repetitive tasks. It's about taking those repetitive things you do and freeing yourself from the time that you're spending on it. And automation is a big topic right now. Everything is being automated. You can walk into an Amazon store and walk out without even having to pay for anything and talk to anybody. It just automatically happens. Everything's being automated now. Investments, warehouses with robots, McDonald's, you can go get your smoothie without even talking to anybody. Sports recaps are being written by robots now. There's testing out automatic truck drivers driving around the country. A lot of the transcriptions that we do for our internal transcriptions for audio and video are done automatically as well. And the best part is automation is not just for big companies. It's for all of us. And if you think about it, think about a typical week that you spend. This is a study by Workfront. They did a state of the work report in 2019. And in a typical week, people tend to spend only about 40% of their time actually doing the primary duties of my job. When I shared this with Tan, he said that 40% is probably a little high. But look, you've got your 16% for emails, 12% for admin tasks. And so if you think about that week, what happens is if we want to try to improve that, maybe you've tried all sorts of different life hacks. And there's nothing wrong with life hacks. There's nothing wrong with little tweaks. We love them too. But to really free up time, you need to get rid of those repetitive things that you do as much as possible. So what you want to do is you want to look at those things that you do during the day. So think about the things that you do. You're maybe answering emails. You're approving documents and reports. Maybe you're editing them. You're booking a meeting room. You're entering information into contracts. Maybe you're updating information or entering data in a contract. You're doing expense reports and submitting them and filing them. Just think of how repetitive all of this stuff is. A lot of what all of us do, if you take a moment to really think about the things you do during the day and during the week, these repetitive tasks do take up most of your day. Now, with AE, we're pretty well known for talking about deep work and focus, and that stuff is super, super important. However, if you think about it, the deep work that you do during the day usually isn't a huge amount of your day. Usually it's only a small part. A writer isn't writing for 8 hours a day. A painter isn't painting for 8 hours a day. A programmer isn't coding for 8 hours a day. So while the deep work and focus stuff is important, it's not a huge time saving, and it doesn't help you free up time. If you think back to this graph we showed earlier, what if you could take that 40% and what if you could transform it? What if you could shrink those admin and repetitive tasks? What if you could take 30-minute tasks and turn them into 2 minutes, or 10-minute tasks and take them into 10 seconds? This is really how you can save 30 minutes to an hour a day, and is really, in our opinion, the most effective way to win back time, is to remove those repetitive tasks. And the crazy thing is we all have these automation features available to us. In fact, a lot of them are built into Windows and Mac, but no one ever talks about this, and no one really highlights this stuff. So imagine being able to deal with all your email in just 30 minutes a day, or creating contracts and reports in just a few clicks. It's totally possible. You can turn a bunch of different clicks and a bunch of different processes in just a few clicks or a few keyboard shortcuts. Anything you do daily, weekly, monthly can be automated. And it's all been right there in front of you. We showed some of these automation strategies to people, and we'll share some examples of that. And they told us, for example, someone told us that they've been using Windows for 20 years and didn't even know some of this stuff. It completely blew their mind. And even for me, once I took that digitization project that I talked about earlier and was able to find anything I needed in seconds, I then kind of took that and expanded it to other areas. I used keyboard shortcuts to rip through my email inbox. I used keyboard shortcuts and automated workflows for writing. I created custom automated workflows to save myself time and energy. I'm still using automations that I set up 10 years ago, and they're still saving me time to this day. And just the other day, for example, I'm still implementing this stuff. I discovered a keyboard shortcut in a video editing software that I use. And anyone who's done video editing will know that video editing is basically one big repetitive task that you're doing over and over and over again. So that keyboard shortcut that I just discovered a week ago saves me tons of time. It made me so excited. And I'm sorry, I get a little bit excited about this stuff, but it just makes me so happy when I can find something that will just cut a bunch of time out of my day, because then I'm freed up to do other things. And we talk about the T framework at Age Efficiency: time, energy, and attention. And when you automate those repetitive tasks, you have more time, energy, and attention for things that are truly important, like writing a book, spending quality time with your family, all sorts of things. So everything can be automated if you have that automation mindset. There's always steps you can remove. So we want to do an automation exercise for you and put that on your radar. You can do it now, or you can prepare yourself to do it after the presentation. Totally up to you. And so what we want you to do is we want you to get a piece of paper if you have it handy, or you can do this digitally as well, and write a line down the middle. And on the left column, what we want you to do is write down those repetitive tasks that you do every day or multiple times a week. And we want you to estimate how much time does it take you to do it. Just a rough estimate. You don't have to sit there with a stopwatch. And then what we want you to do is add that up once you have that task. So once you have that list. And let's say that it's 5 hours that you spend every week. Well, then you realize if you can reduce that time, you'll realize how much time you're spending doing these repetitive, mundane stuff that's robbing you of being creative and being strategic for things that really do matter. One example of somebody who did this is a member of the AE community. Her name's Grace Walsh, and she's a college professor, and she's a mom with 2 kids. And what she did is she went through her repetitive tasks, and she figured out what her biggest time-saving opportunities were. So she did this exercise, and she saw where those exercises were, or where those opportunities were. And what she decided that she spends her time on is finding and working with files and working with a bunch of emails. So she said that by automating finding her files, dealing with files and her emails, she gets back at least 4 hours a week by implementing very simple automations. And this is what can happen once you identify what those big time-saving opportunities are. So we hope you'll see that automation, removing repetitive tasks, is really the biggest time freedom opportunity that you have. But we don't want to just talk about automation. What we want to do is we want to show you some examples of automation so that you can do and show you automation in action, because talking about things and showing them are two very, very different things. And you might be thinking to yourself, automation makes a lot of sense, but you might think that you need a bunch of coding skills or technical skills to do this. Really, that's not the case. I used to think that way too, back when I was sharing the automation example that I talked about in my old corporate job. It really was true. I used to have to set up some pretty crazy technical stuff in order to do all the things that I wanted to do for my team, but that's definitely not the case anymore. Nowadays, it's built into both Windows and Mac, and there's also some really easy and really handy third-party tools you can implement as well. Now you don't need to learn any coding, you don't need any tech skills. Sometimes it's just a checkbox or a switch that you need to throw in order to use these automations. Either way, whether you have to set something up or it's just a switch, there's a lot of time-saving opportunities. And I want to show you one example, which is creating and sending an invoice. So think of all the steps that you need for creating and sending out an invoice. So for example, you've got to look up the customer information. You've got to find their email address. You've got to enter the customer information into the invoice. You've got to save it as a PDF. You've got to, when you name it, you've got to remember what your naming convention is. You got to type in that file name. You got to go to the right folder to save it. You got to save it in that folder. You've got to then go to email, and you've got to find the email address that you found earlier and enter it into your email program, enter the subject line, find the invoice details and write up the email content, sending the email. Then you got to go to the attachment folder, attach it, and send the email. And then if you got to send out multiple invoices, you got to rinse and repeat. So that's a lot of steps just for sending an invoice. But if you really think about the things that you do on a daily basis, a lot of times they do have a lot of these repetitive steps. So let's do a little demo. So here is an invoice that I'm creating for Aquastars Swim Center. And you'll notice that, first of all, the invoice information isn't filled in. I've got the invoice set up, but I don't have the customer invoice filled in yet. So here's what I'm going to do. With one key press, I'm going to prompt for the invoice info. I'm going to use a bit of automation to fill that in as well. Then it's going to automatically save that invoice as a PDF to a folder on my computer. And then it's going to automatically figure out what kind of invoice it is, what the date of the invoice is, and it will name it with our consistent and descriptive naming convention, and then automatically file it away to the right folder for the customer. So we're all going to do this with just one keyboard shortcut. So let's try it out and let's show it in action. So I'm going to hit one keyboard shortcut. It's going to prompt me for a name, and I'm going to use some text automation to fill in the email address and the company. I'm going to put in the invoice number. It's automatically saving it and giving it a name. I'm not doing any of this. This is all happening automatically. And now what it's done is it saved it to the CliffMaster folder, which is the folder for that customer. And you can also see that it's created a new email message. It's filled in the email address, the subject, it's gotten the invoice number and information from the invoice, and it's attached the PDF as an email as well. So then I just have to review it and then click send. And I could do that with a keyboard shortcut as well. So that's an example of the sort of things that you can do with automation. With just one keyboard shortcut, you can make all of that happen, automating all these steps. And the great thing about this is, first of all, you're saving a bunch of steps. You're doing something that takes a little bit and is making it way faster. But second of all, it's reducing the chance for errors. It's reducing the chance that I'm going to save it to the wrong place, give it the wrong name, send it to the wrong person, all that sort of stuff. It's all automated. I'll show you another example. That was on Mac, and we're going to cover some of the tools we use to do that in a moment. But I just want to show you another example. We like to be cross-platform here, so we want to show you another example on Windows. So think of all the steps that you need to do when you're saving an email attachment. You need to hit the save button or right click. You need to save it somewhere on your computer. You need to give it a new name. You need to rename it. And then you need to go to the folder where you want it to go. And you want to save it and then go back to your email program and then do the same thing over and over again for different attachments. So I'll show you how we can automate that whole thing as well. So again, we're here on Windows. And I have this attachment here in Outlook. So, and it's not very helpfully named. It's just called invoice.pdf, which is a lot of times the sort of file names that you get. So what I want to do is I want to name and file this away easily with no mousing around. So I'm just going to hit a few keyboard commands and say the attachment to this folder on my computer. And then what's going to happen is it's going to look, my automation is going to look inside that document, pull out the date and the customer, and then file it away using our consistent and descriptive naming convention to my customer folder, which is called Aquastars, because that's the customer in this case. So again, let's see it in action. So I'm hitting the Outlook keyboard shortcuts to save it, the attachment. I'm saving it to my inbox folder, and I'm not renaming it or anything. I'm just saving it. And right away, it's automatically renamed it using our consistent and descriptive naming convention with the date, and it's saving it to our Aquastars folder. And I know that went really fast, but I did that intentionally because I wanted you to see how fast this stuff can happen if you apply automation. Now, I want to take a moment to check in with you, first of all, to see if you had any not questions, but if this type of automation resonates with you, if you have anything you wanted to see again, definitely let me know. I want to make sure that you kind of get what's happening. So feel free to drop a. Tan says it's crazy fast. So feel free to drop a comment in the chat and just let me know, is this type of automation the sort of thing that you can see working out for you, and is there anything you want to see again, for example? And bonus, if you can guess, we're going to talk about this in a moment, but bonus if you can guess what tools we used for all of that. They're very easy to use tools. And by the way, there was no coding, no scripts, no programming involved in any of that. And yeah, Joe says the devil's in the details, and yeah, that's absolutely true. And so these are two simple examples, like creating invoices and saving attachments, two simple examples. There's lots and lots and lots of other ways that you can automate and save time. So you can submit expenses and receipts for reimbursement. You can file tax documents. You can download bank statements, rename them and file them away. You can move and copy information from Excel or Google Sheets into a database or CRM, or go the other way, take information from the web and put it in a Google Sheet. You can sort and organize photos. You can clean up your downloads folder by downloading files into downloads and automatically organizing them. You can automate email quickly. Lots and lots of different things you can do. And with today's tools built into Mac and Windows, it makes it really easy. Anybody can do this stuff. For example, my dad is really, really into genealogy, and he loves implementing some of these automation tools and these tech tools for working with his genealogy files. This is just some examples of some of his files from the stuff from my grandfather, for example. So anybody can do this stuff, and it applies all different types of scenarios. So think back to your list from earlier. As you think back, can you kind of envision how your task could be drastically cut down on time if you were able to automate some of the things you can do? A member of the Asian efficiency community, Michael Parson, and he's wearing a nice AE t-shirt there. So he let us know, he's a project manager for a big corporation. He says he's a hardcore Windows user for 20 plus years. He says he's not a techie person, and his computer's totally locked down, so he can't install software from third parties at work, which a lot of us have those kind of restrictions. And he said he implemented a few of the ideas that you just saw and was able to gain an extra 2 hours a week. And more powerful than that, he now has that automation mindset. So he sees ways now to save time now that he kind of knows what's possible. He says he wishes he knew that 10 years ago. So those are a few automation demos. And we wanted to just show you some examples of some of the things that you're able to do with automation. But then, of course, a big question, a big question you may have is how do we actually get started with that? Like I see what's possible, but how do I start with automation? And so we want to make sure to talk about that too, because that is the big thing. How do you actually get started? And so I want to take you through how to start automating with 4 easy steps. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through the framework that I personally use when I'm figuring out what to automate and how I implemented most of the automations that I'm using right now. I do want to bring up one thing though, because this might be something that you're thinking, it's definitely something we hear a lot, which is time. You might think to yourself, like, I just don't have time to figure this automation stuff out. I barely have time to do the things that I'm supposed to do, let alone taking the time out of my day to set up an automation for something. So you might be thinking, like, where do I start? What do I automate first? How do I find the time? And it can take a little bit of time, not as much as you think, I guarantee that, but it can take a bit of time. But the best thing is that time is only taken up the first time. Once you set it up, it's a gift that keeps paying back over and over and over again. So I want to take you through my 4 steps of getting started with automation so that you can then know exactly what it is that you should spend time on and what's not even worth it for you. So the first step in my 4-step framework is to think to yourself, what are your most common activities? So what are the things that you do on a daily basis, kind of high level, high to medium level? What are the things that you do on a daily basis that could have the most impact? So for me, when I was thinking of what I wanted to automate, I thought to myself, okay, well, I do a lot of typing. I write articles, I write emails, I write workbooks, like I write a lot. That's number 1. You're not thinking of solutions yet. You're just thinking of what are the things that you do that take up time. The next is I work with and manage a lot of files. So just by the nature of what I do, I'm always moving files away. I'm always renaming files. I'm always filing things away. I'm always accessing files. So for me personally, I work with and manage a bunch of different files. So anything that would help with that would be great. And then I also work with and manage a whole bunch of web services. So we use different services here at AE. I use different services in my personal life. I even use services. I got roped into being a manager of my son's soccer team again this year. So I have a surprising amount of automation opportunities with that. That takes up a lot of my time. So I work with all these different web services. So again, anything that can help me there, super awesome. So that's the first step. What are your most common activities? Number 2, what benefit would you like to get for each of these activities? What would be the best case scenario for automating this stuff? And this is really, really important because a lot of times we hear about these automation tools. Maybe we hear about it on a podcast or in a blog, or you hear about somebody you admire online using a tool and you think to yourself, oh, I need that tool to be productive. That's not really the best approach. The best approach is to think to yourself, okay, for these things that I do that take up a lot of my time, what benefit would I get from automating them? So for me, again, I went through this exercise when I was figuring out what to automate. So for me, since I type a lot, I'd like to save time by not having to type the things that I type repetitively as much. If I could reduce the amount I have to type, but still have accurate and fast typing, that's great. Number 2, I would like for working with and finding files, I'd like to be able to control my computer with my keyboard. I'd like to look up information on the web, and in different web applications, I'd like to be able to access them quickly and do searches on those different web applications. So those are the benefits that I want to get from the different things that I do all the time. So I'm tying the benefits I want to get with the things that I actually do. I'm not looking for a solution to a problem I don't have. So once I know what I do and what I want to do, then I want to find tools or techniques that will actually help for each of these challenges and opportunities that I've identified. So again, going back to me, since I'm the one who went through this process, for typing, I thought to myself, okay, I want to find a tool that helps me reduce the amount of typing that I want to do. And for me, the tool that settled on is called TextExpander. It's available for Mac and Windows. And when I did that demo of the invoice, for example, when I was typing in the customer's email address and the company name, though I sped that up using TextExpander. So I didn't have to type that whole thing in. I used TextExpander for that. The next thing is I want to speed up managing and working with files. So for me, the tools I use for that are called Alfred, which is a command launcher on the Mac, which also will help you find files, open files, and really be super, super productive with your computer. There isn't a super great alternative to that on Windows. There's one called Walks, which is pretty good, but yeah, Alfred is a great one for me. And then for me on my Mac, I use Hazel, which is the app that I use to automatically rename and move those files in the invoice demo. And then, as we talked about at the very beginning of this presentation, File Juggler is the Windows example in that saving attachment example that I use to name and move files around on Windows. So again, I'm tying the things that I do on my the solutions I'm looking for, I'm tying it in with the things I actually want to do. I also use Keyboard Maestro for controlling my computer as well. And so some of that invoice example was done using a tool called Keyboard Maestro as well. And then finally, for my final challenge / opportunity is to help speed up working on the web, I use Alfred. And this is a automation that I really that the AE team in that Philippines training session found really, really valuable. Is I was able to set up different automations for myself and for them to really work faster, do searches, do all sorts of different automations using Alfred to quickly search the web. And Walks does have some of that ability on Windows as well. So that's the first three. Determine what you want to do, determine what you want to get out of it, determine the tools, and then finally, what I call rinse and repeat. So what that means is you don't want to implement a bunch of things at once. You want to start with one automation, get it working for you, get the benefit of it, and then look at the next one. Don't try to implement a bunch of different stuff at once. You're definitely going to get overwhelmed and you won't see significant benefit because you're just kind of going surface on each one. You want to take things one at a time and make sure things are working the way you want it to. And over time, your automation needs will grow and grow, but that's totally great. For me personally, the space that I'm currently at, I'm pretty good with my computer automation and my file automation, though as I mentioned, I'm always discovering new computer automations that really, really save me time. And I'm expanding that to mobile as well, using shortcuts on iOS. But I also have started to really explore web automations. So things like Zapier to control the web apps that we use, or automate things in Google Sheets because I use Google Sheets a lot. So there's always different automations and there's always more time you can save if you just take things in a slow, methodical way. So to recap, my 4 steps, just so that you have it all in one place. So I looked at my number 1, what are your common activities? For me, it was typing, files, and web services. Number 2, what benefit would you like to get? For me, saving time typing, saving time working with the files using my keyboard, and saving time doing web searches and working with our web apps. 3, tying those challenges with a specific tool that will help. So for me, TextExpander, Alfred, Hazel, Keyboard Maestro, and Alfred working with the web. And then of course, rinse and repeat. So what I'm working on these days, glue together the web with Zapier, automate Google Sheets. Now this is what I am automating, but it may not be what you would get benefit from automating. So what we did is we did a big survey of our audience to say, hey, what sorts of things would you like to automate? And we wanted to give you these 17 example answers so you can get some ideas for things that you might want to automate as well. So pay bills and making sure it can get done. I've automated that in the past by having it so that if a bill downloads to my downloads folder, it automatically names it and files it, but it also creates a task in my OmniFocus reminding me to pay it. So that's an automation I've set up. Downloading files like we talked about earlier, automating, working with email, implementing keyboard shortcuts, record keeping, sorting photos, moving photos that you took with your iPhone to a certain folder, doing a weekly review, renaming invoices. There's all sorts of examples that you could automate. And the thing is, like I said, what you want to always think about is not just, hey, I should automate that, but think to yourself, how much time could you save if you automated everything on this list? Even if you personally only have 5 of them or 10 of them, or maybe you're somebody who has all 17. If you think about how much time you spend on all this stuff, how much time could you save a week? And we really wanted to make sure to mention that because of that example, that list that we talked about earlier of your repetitive tasks. So maybe this exercise sparked some more ideas of different things that you can automate. So if so, what you want to do is just kind of mark them down now if you've had ideas. I think I saw Katie say in the chat her brain was exploding, which I totally get. So if so, mark those ideas down now so that you don't forget. And then you can loop back to it when it's appropriate to put in that automation. This is something that Susan Gilmore, who we were just talking about automation with, and she's a single mom and an attorney at a big corporation, and she did this as well. She went through a similar exercise where she figured out, okay, what do I need to automate? What benefit can I get? And how do I do it? And for her kind of big automation rocks, as I call it, she deals with a lot of files, email attachments like the demos that we talked about. She deals with a lot of client files, and she's not high tech. And at least traditionally, her desktop and her downloads were a bit of a mess, so it was really frustrating. Well, since implementing some of the strategies that we talked about just now in these examples and these demos, she's automatically able to move files around. She's automatically able to organize her files, and she felt, she told us anyway, that it helped her gain back 5 hours a week. And she's had it for a couple of weeks now, and she just is continually feeling the benefit of having things organized and having access to the information that she needs right when she needs it. So we've covered our biggest time freedom opportunity, which is saving repetitive time and eliminating repetitive activities and applying automation to that. We've gone through some automation demos just to show you an example of the sorts of things that are possible. And we've taken you through the 4 steps to getting started with automation so that you know what to do and when to do it. So we want to get into Q&A, and we want to make sure that your questions are answered. But before we do that, we want to do a bit of a wrap up and just do a check-in. So I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this. So was our time today enjoyable for you? Did you find it valuable? And do you feel that you can understand how much time you can save with automation if you really think about what your repetitive tasks are? Do you feel more confident about automation? Do you have more clarity on what sorts of things are possible for you without needing coding? And is it fair to say that implementing some of the automation you learned here today will give you a significant advantage? Hopefully the answer is yes. And if that's the case, then at this point, and yes, thank you, Agatha, and thank you, Katie. So at this point, you have 2 options. The first option is you can take action on everything you learned today and implement it. I know you'll get great results. Like I said, you don't need to have coding skills to be an automator. We've mentioned some of the tools that you can use to set this stuff up. And like I said, I really want you to implement this stuff, and I know you can do it for sure. However, we've developed a new project here at Asia Efficiency that will make it a lot easier for you and save you a lot of time and learning. So before we get to Q&A, I just want to check in with you and ask, would it be okay if I spent a couple minutes talking about this before we get into QA? So please let us know in the chat if it's okay. I want to make sure it's okay with you before to share this resource and to share this new project before we get into Q&A. So please let us know. Please let us know in the chat if you're okay with us doing that. All right, Ashala, Jacob, Agatha, Patrick, thank you so much, everybody. Great. So here is the logical next step. What we've created is called Automation Academy, which will help you automate and free up 8 hours a week. And you got 10 there looking sharp in his jacket, so you know that it's good. And it will allow you to automate your repetitive tasks. It will give you 15, more than 15 actually, pre-made workflows for you. And you can download a lot of these workflows, download a lot of resources, and just click it and bring it right into your computer. You don't need to manually set up a lot of these things. And it will help you free up 8 hours a week. And we know you probably want to know what the course covers, so we go through email automation, how to deal with email in less time. We have built-in automation workflow so that we show you some of the things that are built into Windows and Mac that you can use to implement. We help you automatically organize your downloads and your desktop and all that sort of stuff to keep your files in check. We take you through advanced tools like TextExpander, Hazel, FileJuggler, and other advanced tools that if you want to go beyond the built-in tools, you can to be even more efficient and free up even more time. And we give you training on how you can automate anything on your computer. And there's a lot more as well. So that is Automation Academy. It's a $5.99 value. And we took some volunteers to beta test the software. We're really, really thankful for that, or the course, I should say. Really, really thankful for that. Grace, who I mentioned earlier, went through the course. And first of all, she said, "Oh my, I'm obsessed with this course." So that's always a great way to start a feedback comment. And she is somebody like a lot of us who use Mac at home, but is on Windows at work and have a lockdown computer as well. So she said she really likes how the course addresses both platforms. And she says, you guys really thought through everything. And she gave us the feedback that when she thinks of all the time she's saved so far, it's probably close to 2 to 3 hours a week. And she hasn't even implemented everything she wants to yet. Javier also went through Automation Academy, really thankful for that. And he wasn't sure if it was right because, like a lot of people, he can't implement a lot of the apps and tools that we talked about. So he was concerned that maybe it wouldn't be worth it for him. But he says with a few things that he's learned already, he's able to save at least an hour a week. And he really likes the automated launchers and the reminders of things so that he can go in and take action. So he says, thank you to Agent Efficiency for creating the course. So that's just Automation Academy, which is, as I mentioned, is a $5.99 value. However, as we always do when we are creating a new resource, we created a bunch of different bonuses to reward you for being here live on the webinar. So one of those bonuses is called an Automation Tools Checklist. So that's so that you'll definitely get a lot of value from going through all of the course, and it doesn't take a huge amount of time to do that. However, it's nice to just have a checklist, a cheat sheet that you can just get started on right away. So we're creating the Automation Tools Checklist that will help get you started and point you in the right direction right away without having to go through anything else. And that's a $19 value. So those together are a $618 value together. There's also 5 case studies. So we're going to show you how 5 different people use automation in their life, go through their workflows, the tools you use, how to see other real world examples of people, and you can see exactly how they automate things and save hours a week. And putting that all together, that's a $299 value. So bringing that together, the 3 bonuses, that's an $817 value altogether. The next bonus is a big one, and I'm actually really, really excited about this, possibly unreasonably so. And I don't know if you're like me. I've definitely done this. I know a lot of us have probably done this, whether we will admit it or not, is you buy a course, you buy a resource, and when you buy it, you're super excited. You're like, this is going to solve my problems. This is going to change everything for me. So you buy it, and then it just sits there. We don't actually put it into practice. I don't know if you've ever done this. Feel free to share in the chat if you have. I definitely have. Well, we want to make sure that doesn't happen to you with Automation Academy. So what we're doing is we're holding 4 live implementation calls. So how it will work is we'll have a call. You can come join. We'll take you through and help you set up your very first automations, and we'll be there to help you with questions. We'll be there to make sure that you're getting value from the course. So, I mean, we definitely recommend you go through all the resources, but we want to make sure that you implement this stuff. So we're having 4 implementation calls over a span of 4 weeks where we help you get up and running with automation and put this stuff into action. And we price it at $999 value for the time and all that sort of stuff. So all together, you've got Automation Academy, the checklist, the case studies, and the 4 live implementation calls. So that's a $1,816 value. And again, we wanted to reward you for being here on the webinar and taking action. And we wanted to make sure to make this as easy as possible. We really committed to you. We've mentioned a number of times that you do not need to have coding or techie skills to do automation. We really, really believe this. But we wanted to make it really, really, really easy for you. So what we've done is we've put together 15, at least 15, might be more than that now, workflows and scripts that are made just for you. So we've taken the automation parts that people may have had challenges with, and we made workflows and scripts that you can just import and implement. So for example, we mentioned earlier about Hazel as one of the resources that we talk about. So we've made a bunch of Hazel workflows that you can just implement straight into your computer. So if you're more a reader or a video person, if you're more a reader than a video person, we also have step-by-step screenshots that you can go through. If you'd rather do it that way than try to implement things off of video. I know a lot of people prefer that. And we have transcripts for everything as well, so you can read through the whole thing. So with some examples of those scripts and workflows that we've created that are included. So cleaning up your desktop of files older than a day, keeping your downloads folder clean and organized, automatically rename and move PDFs based on the date and the vendor. In other words, the information inside the PDF, some of those examples from those demo videos, and automatically name and upload receipts from your mobile device. Those are just some examples of the automations that we've created. So if you bring that together, all of those things, including the workflows and the scripts, that's a $2,015 value. And so to recap at a high level, we've got Automation Academy. We've got the course itself. We've got the automation tools checklist, the case studies, the 4 implementation calls, and the workflows and script. And again, that's a $2,015 value, but of course, you're not going to pay that price. With the initial launch of Automation Academy, we want to give you a much better deal. So we're happy to announce that after months of working on this course, you can get all of this for just a fraction of the price. So what we've done is we put it all together for $399 value. So we could have charged $2,015 for all the different pieces, but we're giving it to you for $399. And right now you can go to asianefficiency.com/automation and you can purchase it right there. It's there for you. Now, it doesn't officially go live until Wednesday. That's not the official launch date of Automation Academy, but we want to give those of you who came to the webinar early access to it right now. So if you're interested in the course, go to that URL right now, asianefficiency.com/automation, and you can purchase it right now. So we also, like I said, we really want to give you a reward for being here. We love doing these webinars, and we love it when there's questions and participation. So we always like to reward people for being first and being live on the webinar. So what we've done is we've created another resource for the first 10 people who enroll. So it's only going to be available for the first 10 people who purchase and who are here on the webinar today. And that's what's called our Automation Academy Library. So what that is these are the automations that I use and Tan use, and we set up for the Asian Efficiency team in that little training in, well, it wasn't that little, that training in the Philippines that I told you about earlier. These are the automations that we use to run our business and the automations that we use to run our personal life. So it's not part of the course. It's an extra resources that we haven't published before, and these are the things that we use ourselves. So again, this is only available for the first 10 people, and because we want to reward people for taking action. So it's super, super exclusive. And so again, the way to get that Automation Academy library is to go to asianefficiency.com/automation, and it's there for you. Now, a course like Automation Academy can be a little tricky, because if you think of it like this. You think of it like you're buying a house, right? And if you're going to buy a house, you're not just going to drive by a house, see it, and say, I want to buy that house and buy it. You're going to go in, you're going to check it out. You might, depending on where you are in the country, I'm not sure how it is with you, but in Vancouver, you'd be crazy to buy a house without getting it inspected. So you check it out first to make sure it's okay. And the same with a car. You're not going to just see a car driving by and go and buy one right away. You're probably going to test drive it and make sure it's right for you, make sure it's something that you're actually going to enjoy driving. Well, for a course like Agent Automation Academy, it's the same. So we want to give you the opportunity to do that too. So what we've done is we've created a 60-day money back guarantee. So you can join it. You can check the inside. You can try it out and make sure it's going to work for you. If you don't like it or it doesn't work for you, no problem at all. Just ask us and we'll refund you. We won't hassle you. We won't ask you a bunch of questions. We won't try to cross-sell you to something else. If it's not for you, no problem. We'll refund it right away because we know a resource like this is hard to judge just based on a presentation. Maybe if we had 3 hours, we could go through everything, but we don't obviously. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you to check out. I know Michael Parsonen, who we saw earlier. So he checked it out as well, and he went through it, and he says what he learned from the workflows saved him an hour a week and wasn't even difficult, and he didn't need to install special programs because his computer is locked down like many of ours. So he got a lot of benefit from it. And like I mentioned earlier, if it works for him, it'll work for anybody. He says he wished he knew this 10 years ago. And he figured because he had been using Windows for 20 years, he thought, what else could there be to learn? And so he was shocked at a lot of the time-saving opportunities there are with automation, even if your computer is locked down. Michelle Foster is another one who we're so thankful went through the course for us and gave us feedback. And for her, she's like, I should actually introduce her to my dad because her big thing is figuring out family genealogy. And so she says she implemented a few workflows right away, and it helped her access her files faster, which I can tell you from watching my dad on his computer is with genealogy, you're always working with a ton of different files. And so she finds it helps her be way more efficient. So she really, really appreciates it. So again, if you want to enroll, asianefficiency.com/automation. And now I want to make sure we are able to answer your automation questions. So what we want to do is the way we'll do questions is you can type your questions in the chat, and Tan will collect them and ask the questions to me. And then we'll go through and we'll try to make sure get as many questions as we can, answered as we can. And I also want to really thank and honor Tammy, Tom, Suzanne, and Anish just bought Automation Academy. So thank you so much for that. I'm really, really excited that you're going to be part of one of the first group of 10 who gets access to the library, which is super great. And I just want to thank you in person for purchasing the Automation Academy. I really, really look forward to hearing how you like it and the benefits you get from it. So while Tan is bringing together the questions, what I'll do is when we went through our beta group and we were first approaching people for Automation Academy, they had some questions for us. So we want to make sure to go through some of those frequently answered questions first. Frequently asked, I should say. The first question is, well, I'm not technical at all. Will the course apply to me? And yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, you don't have to be technical. There's a lot of simple built-in things that you can do to take action right away. You don't have to install anything. But if you do want to install something, we do have a lot of workflows and scripts that you can implement. No coding needed at all. The next question is this Mac only or Windows only? No, whenever possible, we've made things as cross-platform as possible. What we've done is we've created Mac and Windows versions when possible of all of the resources, so you can just jump right to the section you want. And we also cover iOS and Android when it's relevant and possible as well. So we try to be as cross-platform as we can, depending on the subject, of course. Next question, do I need to buy additional apps or tools to make this course work for me? Nope, you actually absolutely don't have to. A lot of people, as we've mentioned, have their computers locked down, and even if they wanted to buy something, a tool, they couldn't install it anyway. So even if you can't install anything, you'll get a lot of value. We put a lot of work up front, making sure that we cover things that are built into Mac, Windows, Outlook, that sort of thing, so that you can take action and get time-saving automation benefits just from that. If you can install apps, of course, there's some great third-party tools that you can use, and we'll show you how in the course. But if you can't, no problem at all. All right, so I'm definitely ready for your questions. So Tan, if you have questions for us, or for me, I should say, definitely let me know.
Yeah, I have some questions, and
Great.
I'll be chiming in here as well, here in the background, while everybody is typing away. So I also want to give you a breather, Brooks, if you want to sip some water, whatever, for the last hour that you've been teaching. Again, guys and women and gents and fellow gals, you can all type in questions in the chat, and we'll make sure to answer your questions, and we're going to be here to answer your questions. So Agatha asks, what's the time frame for signing up? So all of these bonuses that you see here right now are just limited to the presentation that we're doing today. As some of you might know, the official launch date of this course is actually on Wednesday, 2 days from now. So anybody that's enrolling right now will get first access to all of the bonuses and everything else before we actually go live on Wednesday. So if you want to take advantage of all the bonuses that we offer here today, then be sure to enroll right now. Just go to asianefficiency.com/automation, and you'll be guaranteed to have all these bonuses. By the time we go live on Wednesday, all of the slots for the live calls, for some of the library access might be gone already. So if you want to guarantee access to that, be sure to enroll right now. And Katie always likes to call me out. I love you, Katie. Good to see you here too. For those who don't know, Katie is an avid Dojo member here. So good to see you here. And I appreciate you waking up so early all the way from Australia. So one of the questions that we have here is from James. He asked, is the course 50-50 Mac and Windows solutions? Or what do you mean when you say when possible? Does that mean the course either leans towards Mac with Windows when possible, or how does the split actually work? So one of the things that we have found over the years is that Asian Efficiency first started off being Mac only, right? And what you might have noticed over the years is that we've been heavily focused on providing Windows solutions as well. And so with this brand new course that we've been working on for a while, we really wanted to make sure that both Mac and Windows are covered in detail. So if I had to say a split, it's pretty much 50-50. Every time we show you an automation or every time we have a workflow, there's a Mac equivalent for that and also a Windows equivalent for that, right? So as an example, if you want to organize your desktop, we have a Windows solution for that and a Mac solution for that. If you wanted to rename, move files automatically, there's a way to do that on Mac, but also on Windows as well. So we pretty much have all the solutions on both platforms. And what's unique about certain platforms is that there are certain features on Mac that are not available on Windows, and vice versa. There are certain features on the Mac or on Windows that are not available on Mac, and we cover those as well. So whether you use Windows or Mac, we got you covered. And for those of you who use something like iOS or Android, we cover that as well. So you have some automation going on your desktop too. So hope that answers your question. Sharon Brooks Sharon asked, can you automatically add labels to files?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it kind of depends on the platform. But if we're talking about on the Mac, yeah, definitely you can add labels. Either you can give a label inside a file name, or you could automatically give tags to files and that sort of thing. So yeah, you can definitely do that. If I'm not totally understanding what you mean by labels, definitely ask again in the chat and I'll clarify. But yeah, you can not just rename and move, you can automatically add tags and that sort of thing as well.
When it comes to file automation, you literally can almost do anything that you want. So you can either color code files if you want. So as an example, one of my workflows that I have for my downloads folder is any file that's older then 30 days gets a red color in my Explorer or Finder. And so you can tag stuff, you can label stuff, you can rename files, you can change contents of whatever file detail you want. There's so many cool things that you can do. So you can get really creative with that. Couple more questions is, James, can you provide a full list of specific solutions for types of problems and high-level examples of how they can be applied? Sure. So Brooks, can you maybe go to the slide where we show like the 17 examples?
Sure. All right. We're going to be dangerous here. All right.
And while we're doing that, I want to congratulate a bunch of people who enrolled for Automation Academy. So we have Thomas, who just enrolled. We have Franklin, who enrolled. Torsten. We have Douglas. We have Edwin. We have Jose. We have Roman. And we also have Scott. So I think all 10 spots are gone now for the early access bonus. So congratulations for those of you who were part of the first 10. So again, you are all going to get those bonuses plus access to the Automation Academy library, which includes the exclusive agent efficiency workflows. So on the screen here, you can see 17 examples, James, of tasks that you can automate, right? So these, again, are based on surveys that we sent out to agent efficiency readers and clients and that we personally use as well. And the beautiful thing about this list is that when you join Automation Academy, we will have a workflow for these and we'll show you how to automate these yourself as well, right? So we want to make sure that whenever you enroll, you get access to all of this stuff. And you also instantly get the benefit of what we eventually figured out for you already. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel yourself. Okay. So that's really important for us, is that, when you join the course, even if you don't go through the whole course, which a lot of people don't, they just want to get what they need. You can just download, learn, or just watch the little segment and then instantly get that result as well. So those are just some examples there. And hopefully that answers your question. So Brooks, we can go back to the final Q&A slide again. Okay, we have another question here. This is for you, Brooks. Agatha asks, how does this stack up, this meaning some of the tools that we've mentioned, like Hazel, FileJuggler and such, stack up against IFTT or Zapier?
Yeah, so I'm huge fans of web automation. I mentioned that that's an area I'm using more and more. I haven't told Tanya, but I think we're pretty close to maxing out our plan in Zapier, so we'll have to do some figuring out about that. So yeah, it really, again, it depends on the type of problem that you're trying to solve, but we definitely want to make sure that we're going to give some examples in using IFTT or Zapier to show you how to do web automation. That's on one of the things for the course, because it's something we use ourselves a lot internally. So especially using that library, we're going to share some of the Zapier's apps that we use internally at AE to really be more efficient as a company.
Yep. And Jose is asking, where can I find the bonuses? And I'm about to type to you right now. We will automatically or manually add them to your account so that we can verify that you're one of the first 10 to enroll. So we'll make sure to get all of that sorted out right after this presentation. Okay, so another question that people have asked Brooks is, when it comes to going through the course and training, how long does this typically take to go through the material?
I would say you could go through the material in an afternoon. Especially, it really depends on if you're interested, like we talked about earlier, if you're interested in only the Mac stuff or only the Windows stuff or both, and you want to watch them both. So it kind of depends on that, but you could definitely go through the materials in an afternoon, and then depending on what you wanted to implement, you're probably going to target certain things. It's generally pretty fast to implement that as well. Again, we want to, like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to start implementing everything at once. The implementation phase really is depending on the problem and the activities you have. But going through the materials, I would say an afternoon. What would you say?
Yeah, based on there's roughly 18, 19, or a little bit less than that training videos. So if you spend roughly an afternoon just watching the videos, you will have literally all the information you need. But even if you just watch the first two videos, I've seen just consistently from the feedback we've gotten from the beta users before we launched it, just watching the first two videos just made people's minds explode, and just they didn't know what was all possible, and just using the workflows that are shown in there. And if you guys love the challenge that we did last week, imagine all the stuff that we have inside the course, right? The challenge was just like literally a tiny part of what's possible. Inside the course, we have so much more stuff, and we actually have pre-made workflows for you. So you don't have to figure it out on your own. You can just download and instantly use it. So we really try to make it as simple as possible for you. Even if you have no technical skills, no coding skills whatsoever, that was a really big emphasis when we created this course for you guys. Okay, Katie asks, hi guys, is it possible to set up an automation that includes logging into a website to download a report?
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely could. You want to be careful where you store your password. So if you're going to set up an automation that does that, you're going to want to make sure that it's on a very secure. You're comfortable with the security of your computer or the tool that you're using, or there may be other automation options as well, like through Zapier or something like that. But if you wanted to automate actually entering username and password, it definitely is possible. But you just need to be a bit careful. You want to look, whenever possible, you want to look into web API integrations like using Zapier and IFTTT. But if that's not possible, you could automate logging in if you wanted to, for sure.
Yeah, I would say the best solutions would be something like Zapier or IFTTT, because they have a lot of integrations with like online platforms and online websites and such, which is probably the more kind of like easy route to go. But some of you might need to log into a website that is behind like a corporate firewall or something, or it's like a unique website that's only relevant to you guys as like corporation or team. In that case, you could still do it. It's a little trickier, but it's definitely possible. So on a high level, what you can do is you could use something like KeyboardMeister and integrate it with 1Password logins, and then automatically log in that way, and then log into a website, and so on. It's a little bit more advanced, but definitely possible. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We had somebody ask about Postbox. Oh yeah, John. So John asked, are you guys doing much using Postbox for email?
I don't personally use Postbox for email right these days. I'm using Spark, which is a Mac and iOS email program. Do I remember that you use Postbox 10, or am I totally making that up?
Yeah, I used to be a big user of Postbox myself, especially when I was traveling a lot. I would use it offline. That's one of my favorite ways to use it. And most of the time now, depending on which machine I use, so on my home computer, which is my MacBook Pro hooked up to a 4K monitor, I still use Postbox because I just like to use it that way. But on my MacBook Air, when I travel, I actually use Mailplane for most things. And so I kind of use two different apps based on the screen real estate that I have and stuff like that. But inside the course, even though we don't specifically cover Postbox, you'll learn some email automation stuff that we show you for like Outlook, for like Apple Mail and stuff like that, that you can basically use in Postbox as well. So you can copy like the ideas and the automation workflows that Postbox has features for as well. So like the filtering, the email rules, some of the VIP stuff, you can all set that up in Postbox as well, which I have done personally. But in the course, since we know most people use like Outlook, Apple Mail, and Gmail and stuff, we cover most of those platforms. Okay, I also want to congratulate Frank for joining the Automation Academy. Congratulations, Frank. You're one of the first people to in the world, and the rest of you who I've mentioned earlier, to be part of this course. And again, we're not officially launching until Wednesday. So you guys are one of the very first people in the world to have access to this new training material. So super excited for y'all. Okay, so another question that we have here is, somebody asked, do you need the latest versions of all the tools that you guys mentioned?
I don't think so. For example, using Hazel as an example, there isn't anything we cover in Hazel that doesn't that is newer than 3.1, for example, which Hazel's on 4 point something now. We don't. We try to keep it very, very useful, but very. We don't go too esoteric. So Hazel specifically, no. File Juggler, you would probably want to be on version 2. I think, yeah, version 2. Anything after version 2 would be fine. And yeah, I don't think there's anything off the top of my head that you need the absolute latest version. But again, it kind of depends on the tool, the specific tool you're talking about.
Yeah, and for most tools, you don't need to have like a paid upgrade, so you'll be fine. And then also we cover a lot of built-in tools as well, right? So stuff that's already included on your Mac, on your Windows, the Outlook version that you use, Apple Mail that comes with Mac and such. So there's no requirement for you to even buy external tools to get value from this program and to get those automations going in your life. But I'm really excited to, to have this course available because it doesn't rely on having all these additional tools that you have to purchase to make this work for you. Like everything is already built in. You have access to everything that you want. A lot of tools are free as well, but even then you don't have to install them to use them. So everything is already built in, and somebody just needs to show you how to actually use it. And a lot of people don't even know about this. And that's why Mikael, or Mike, as we like to call him, has been using Windows for over 20 years, and he didn't even know some of the things that are possible. So I'm really excited for everyone that's part of this course to get access to some new horsepower. Okay, we have a few more questions here. Again, if you want to enroll and get access to these bonuses that we have here, go to agentefficiency.com/automation. That's the URL to use if you want to enroll. Paul asks, if you were just starting out with automation in general, what one program would you buy?
Oh, great question. Probably for me, it would be Text Expander, which is one of the tools that we cover in the course. That is got to be my most used application, productivity application and automation application. Having said that, I saw that Agatha asked a question if Text Expander is free. It's not free. However, there is a lot of text automation you can do using the built-in tools on Mac, iOS, and Android. So you can get a lot of what Text Expander does just using built-in tools. But I use the kind of more advanced Text Expander tool so much that that's probably my number one purchase. It's one of those things apps that I dragged my feet on for a long time. I kept hearing how great it was, and I thought, I'm a fast typer, I don't really need it. But once I bought it and started using it, I would not want to go back. That's mine.
Yep, I feel the same way. Out of all the tools that are available to us, if I just had to pick one, I would probably say Text Expander as well. And again, like Brooks mentioned, we cover this in the inside Automation Academy as well in detail, so you can get started with that. But again, everything that comes with this course there's an alternative and a free alternative as well. So, for example, a lot of people don't know, but within Mac, there's actually a Text Expander version of it as well that comes with the Mac operating system. So it's free. You can build really cool snippets or text expansion stuff just built into the Mac. So you don't even have to buy Text Expander, right? And for those of you who've gone through the challenge, you've probably learned how to do that, right? And Text Expander just takes it to a whole new level where you can just like automate literally almost anything that you type. And some of the demos that you've seen today was an example of that, of what's possible, right? You guys have seen that once you see the demo and you see the automation in action, you just see what's possible, and it just gives you so many ideas of what you can do too. So, but if I had to pick a second one, just for shits and giggles, Brooks, what would you pick?
Probably for me, unfortunately, this one is Mac only. My second one, actually, I changed my mind. My second one would probably be Hazel, just because that does a lot of work for me, keeping things organized. And as we said, the Windows equivalent is File Juggler. So probably that would be my number 2.
One of my favorite workflows that I still have to implement, Brooks, that you've shared is, and we didn't share it today, but some of the things that is covered in the course as well in more detail is hot zones, I think you called them. Mm-hmm. So it's when you drag a file into, let's say, an Evernote folder, and it's just, you put the file in there, and then it automatically just gets into Evernote, all sorted out, renamed, and stuff like that. And you can do the same thing with other stuff, right? You put it into like a specific, like let's say bills folder on your desktop, and then it just goes to the right bills folder somewhere else, maybe somewhere in Dropbox, rename the file, and so on. And so you can create these little buckets on your desktop, and anytime you move a file in there, Hazel or File Juggler on Windows can kind of like read what's going on in there and then say, oh yeah, based on the information here, I should, put this file in there. And it's one of the things that I think a lot of people are going to really like. So that's something I still have to implement, and I'm really excited about that because I know that's going to save me so much time. But if I had to pick a second one, I'm actually going to go with Launchbar because I do so much stuff with that every single day. And it's one of the first tools I would install if I had a new computer, or whenever I'm using somebody else's computer, I quickly realize, oh wait, there's no Launchbar here. How do you do this again? How do normal people actually like do all this stuff? So that's something I would definitely recommend. So Teresa, we had one more question here. So Teresa asks, could you list which programs go with which system? I want to know which ones to look into. So we covered this actually in detail in the automation tools checklist, right? Which you can see here on screen as one of the bonuses. So once you purchase this, you get access to this checklist, and we'll actually give you discount codes as well for you to purchase these programs if you want to. Again, that's optional. But we cover in detail, like these are the tools that we recommend. These are the tools that go with Mac and Windows. So you know how to access and find the tools that we recommend and use, so you don't have to dig on your own. But some of the tools that we've mentioned so far are Text Expander, which is Mac and Windows, right? File Juggler, which is on Windows, Hazel, which is on Mac, Alfred, which is on Mac as well, and Launchbar, like I mentioned as well. And then we have other tools that we mentioned in there as well. So these are some of the things that you can look into. Again, everything that we showed you today, you can literally implement yourself, right? And we want to make sure you do implement stuff. But if you want to shortcut the process, if you want to have proven workflow solutions already built for you, that's what the Automation Academy is for. And we'll actually have some additional training as well to show you and train you how to actually learn how to do it yourself, so you can create all the automations that you want. We're about to wrap it up here. Brooks, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, the main thing that I wanted to mention, and this is something that I've kind of learned the hard way over time, is like years ago, a mentor of mine was putting on this retreat in Arizona called Liftoff, and I really wanted to go, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't bring myself to commit to it. It wasn't even financial. I could afford it, but I hesitated. And by the time I decided to take the plunge, it was too late. It was already sold out. And to this day, I've regretted it because the attendees of that session are still like 9 years later, super close friends, business collaborators. And I always felt like I missed out on a lot of personal and business growth because of my hesitation. And so you've probably all been in situations like that where you're kind of on the fence about something. And then when you decided to take action, it was too late. So the reason I mention that is because whatever you decide to do today, I want you to make sure that you take action on whatever is best for you. If you have the skills and the desire and the time to implement it yourself, and you're comfortable doing that, I hope you can use the exercises and the tools that we created to help make that happen. But if you do want to speed up your results and want to know that you've got the proven resources and tools and support to make sure you save time, that's totally great too. Like I'm personally, not speaking for Tan here, but personally, either way is totally cool with you. But whatever you do, I just want to make sure that you don't do nothing. So remember, at the beginning of this, we all committed to implementation, myself too. There's another automation I just thought of. So I want you to take action and implement some sort of automation. The worst case scenario is that you leave this presentation and you just don't do any sort of action. So yeah, please just take action and live your life with no regrets. And again, here is that URL, asianefficiency.com/automation. Really, really appreciate the questions, and thank you so much for attending. It's been great, and you've had great questions.
Thank you, Brooks, for presenting today, and I hope everybody really learned a lot today. And again, really implement this stuff, because again, you can win so much time back every single week whenever you have automations running in the background for you. And again, you don't have no coding skills needed. There's no technical skills or expertise needed whatsoever. And we're really excited about this course. And again, we're launching it on Wednesday officially. So if you want to enroll now with all these bonuses that we have available exclusive on this live presentation, enroll right now, because as soon as we end this presentation, it'll be gone. So thank you all. Just go to asianefficiency.com/automation if you want to. And Katie says, as an Asian Efficiency customer, I've never regretted my purchases. I remember way back buying my first course, I hesitated for literally months. And the moment I got it, I realized what a doofus I was not to just get it. Could have saved months of annoyances. Wow, thank you, Katie, for sharing that. And Ashala said, thank you for the information presented today and for creating Automation Academy. You're welcome. And super great to have you with us. Thank you all. Thanks, James. Thanks, Sonia. Thank you, everybody else that was here today. We both hope that you have a great rest of your day. And thank you, Brooks, for presenting today. And we're excited for the official launch on Wednesday. So see you all then.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody.